Good afternoon, grinders. This is your MLB SimLabs analysis for Tuesday, August 5th. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka BlenderHD. If you want to follow me on Twitter, hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and hit the notification bell to always know when we go live. We got Grinders live later today, 5 p.m. Eastern, followed by Crunch Time with Kevin Roth. I don't think there's. I guess Atlanta is the weather spot, which is a yellow orange. So I mean, you're gonna have to check the radar later in. Looks dicey, but most likely late start and play. But obviously Atlanta, they always have pop-up storms and stuff like that. Is it going to go over the ballpark? And it's going to be pretty important. Uh, I think Freddie Peralta is in play in some regard today at pitcher, maybe a Milwaukee stack. So that's an earlier game. That's a 7:15 p.m. Eastern start. So we should know a little bit more about that closer to lock. But that's why you tune into Crunch Time. You get the weather radar and everything, and Roth knows what he's doing. So you got to check in with that later. But pitching wise on today's slate, pretty good pitching slate today. It's not the biggest of offensive slates. It's a 10-game slate and a lot of not very good implied team totals. There's a couple of really, really high ones, but mostly in the low fours, high threes. I mean, the White Sox have a under 2.85 implied team total. So there's a bunch of pitchers to choose from, and we got a Coors game. Obviously, the Blue Jays have over a seven run implied team total. We have a bunch of expensive pitchers, and we do have cheap value bats that you can use in order to play two expensive pitchers today. So you can. I mean, we also have a cheaper option. I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat today. But Garrett Crochet, 10.9K, leads the pitching projections, 21.5 mean fantasy points, 31% chance of being optimal. After him, we got Brian Wu at 10.4K, 9. Here's the second highest projection, but 19% chance of being optimal. Then Freddie Peralta at 10K against Atlanta. That's why you're gonna have to, watch for that Atlanta game. He may not be as owned. Like the two most owned pitchers on this today's slate are probably going to be Crochet at 10.9 and Wu at 10.4. But then we also got Eovaldi at 9,700 against the Yankees. We got Imanaga 8,900 against the Reds. Let's see. I guess Pepio 8,500 against the Angels. He's, I guess, in play, 10% chance of being optimal. Like Peralta, we have his 12% projected owned. I think that may actually come down a bit as the Atlanta game may get a little bit dicey. But that is a good spot. He is under-owned, according to SimLabs. We have Brian Wu as massively over-owned. We have him at 36.7% projected owned, but only a 19% chance of being optimal. The cheap pitcher, though, I mean, you could play someone like Jose Barrios, 7K against Colorado if you wanted to. I don't think that's horrible, right? Anyone else here? Like Jose Soriano against Tampa Bay, 7,600, not horrible. But we have Yu Darvish here at 6,100, and just be aware with Darvish, you probably ain't getting 90 pitches from him. I mean, he is a 4.5 strikeout prop, but the thing is that he's 6,100. Like if he was 8K, he wouldn't really be up here, right? He has a similar projection to guys like Barrios and Soriano and Sheehan and Will Warren and even like some of these like Clay Holmes, a little bit more than Clay Holmes. I mean, he's a 13.5 point mean projection, but he's only 6,100. Just be aware that he may not pitch 5 innings. He may not be eligible for the win. I mean, let's see, the San Diego Arizona game. I mean, San Diego has a 4.71 implied team total. Arizona 4.29. It's not a horrible spot, but it's really more of a byproduct of his price. We have him at 21% projected own, 20% chance of being optimal. So it's not like he's like heavily like under-owned or anything, but he's a decent shot of getting 15 fantasy points. But is he the type of pitcher that's going to go 7 innings and get 10 strikeouts? Not today. That will not be today, sir. So be aware of that. I'm not sure if you necessarily have to pay down for Darvish today. We'll see what SimLabs has to say. But we got so many like cheap value bets. If you take a look at some of these starting lineups today, I mean, sometimes it's just DraftKings. Like on Toronto, like for some reason, like Alejandro Kirk is 3,700. Like they priced up everyone else, right? Bichette, Guerrero, Barger, Varsho. I mean, even guys, Ernie Clement is 4,100. Yet they left Alejandro Kirk at 3,700. So if you need a catcher at 3,700, there you go, right? And then we also have like guys like where did I see before? I mean, obviously that you can play the White Sox for free today. I mean, obviously, like you could always do. But like on Milwaukee, like Milwaukee's dirt cheap also. Like Isaac Collins is 3,200. Brandon Lockridge is 2,100 if he leads off for the Brewers. It's obviously if the Milwaukee Atlanta game plays. But like all the Brewers are cheap today. That you could feel Danny Jansen's 2,600 a catcher if you wanted to do that. Right? There are a lot of decent amount of cheap guys today that you can play as one-offs even if not stacks. So if you want to play a Crochet Woo lineup, you can. If you want to play Crochet Eovaldi, if you want to play, I mean, you could do all that. You don't have to play Yu Darvish. And the more and more that the Atlanta game gets dicey, the more and more I may want to play Freddie Peralta because his ownership's going to go down. We have him as the second highest optimal rate pitcher. Strikeout prop of 5.5, right? Which is about on par, close enough to Woo and Eovaldi and Pepio, I guess. So I'd take a shot on Peralta. I mean, it obviously depends on the weather. If it looks very clear that, maybe not clear enough that this game may not actually play, like, yeah, you don't want to play him. But I'm interested in Peralta today. I'm also interested in the Milwaukee bats because we take a look at the stacks tool, right? Top optimal rate is actually not the Blue Jays today, even though they have a 7.39 implied team total. That's 2 points higher than the Dodgers. The Dodgers have a 5.22 implied team total, but we have the Dodgers. It's the highest optimal rate stack. And it's primarily due to price, I would guess. Toronto's expensive. It's going to be the most owned stack today, but the Dodgers are cheaper, right? Then we have Boston. Boston have a 4.95 implied team total. So they have the third highest on the board. So Boston's there 13%. Then we have Milwaukee at 10%. And Milwaukee have a 4.02 implied team total, but you see the top value over here. Like Milwaukee is like nothing. It's like dirt. I mean, this lineup here from Milwaukee, I mean, it's not a good lineup. We go here. Lockridge, 2,100. Collins, 3,200. William Contreras, 4,100. Vaughn, 3,200. Durbin, 3,300. Jansen, 2,600. Perkins, 3,100. Man, they got Monastero, Jory Ortiz. I mean, these are like nothing. Like you could play a Milwaukee stack, Crochet, Woo, and still play like Ohtani as a one-off. They could still do that. I think it may end up, especially if, well, maybe not especially if Peralta. If Peralta plays, I guess that creates more lineups that are 2 10K pitchers. Milwaukee, I mean, if they're the best value, if they're the vomit stack of the slate, sometimes they get a little more ownership than you would expect. Only because people are plugging in. Even if it's not 5-man, you get 2 or 3-mans. A lot because people need to save money. I don't expect to see much Milwaukee in like Darvish lineups, right? Darvish is 6,100. You're not going to see much Milwaukee. You're not going to need Milwaukee. But then we have the Padres at 8%. Then another cheap stack is cheaper stack, I guess, is the Cardinals against Emmett Sheehan. Take a look at the Cardinals lineup in the late game, right? That's the latest game on the board, right? I mean, it's not like Milwaukee, but still, I mean, the Cardinals only have a 3.78 implied team total, but Donovan's 4,300, 4K for Herrera, Burleson's 3,900. Contreras is 41. Nootbaar is 38. Mason Wynn is 31. Right? It's not great, but they are cheap enough that you could play two 10K pitchers and stack the Cardinals today. Right? Teams that are going to be very hard to stack with two 10K pitchers is Toronto, is Colorado, is Seattle, I guess. I mean, some of these teams are quite overpriced for their optimal rate. Right? Seattle, the Angels, the Cubs, the Rays. I mean, these are all good 2-3% chance of being optimal. I'd rather play the Mets today or the Padres. But let's see what SimLabs has to say. Okay, I'm gonna run 150 lineups, 5-man stacks, small field. I play 1 to 3 lineups, medium range. Let's see what we get a bunch of. I'm assuming we'll get a lot of Crochet. I'm assuming not a lot of Woo. I'm assuming a lot of Milwaukee. For some reason, I think we're getting a lot of Milwaukee. So let's see. Let's go over to exposures. Yeah, a lot of Crochet. Here we go. Okay, so a lot of Crochet Darvish. Okay, and and Peralta. Then a mix of whatever. So essentially, it's two 10K pitchers, or you're mixing in you Darvish. That's kind of what SimLabs is looking at today. I mean, you get a bunch of a little stuff. Evaldi and Managa. It really depends on the lineup, I guess. Then we look at teams. A lot of Dodgers. Oh, okay. Instead of Milwaukee, actually the Cardinals. This Dodgers-Cardinals games, I guess the SimLabs likes. And then some Mets. But you barely see Toronto here. You don't really see Boston much here. You see a little bit more San Diego. Probably primarily due to ownership. That's what I'm assuming. But a lot of Dodgers. Like this first lineup. Crochet, Darvish. Then you play Freeman, Rojas, Betts, Ohtani, Conforto. 2 Milwaukee players, and Alex Bregman is a one-off, which is perfectly fine. Here's Peralta, Darvish. Basically a game stack, right? You're playing, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Betts, Hernandez. So you're not playing an Ohtani lineup. Then you have Nootbaar, Donovan, and Wilson Contreras in to complete the 5-3. These are very highly rated lineups. A lot of Dodgers. Dodgers with some one-offs here. Some one-offs here. Evaldi, Pepio, Wu, Darvish. Seems like a lot of mix, but a lot of Dodgers today. Crochet and Managa. Warren Darvish. Paying down twice. So you play Ohtani, Muncy, Betts, Pajes. You still have to play Victor Scott in this lineup. Here's a Cardinals lineup. Here's a Mets lineup with Wu and Darvish. With Ohtani, Muncy, and Story as one-offs. All right, but what are these? What does the Toronto lineup look like? Let's say one to play Toronto today. This is what I like using SimLabs for research. So I'm going to lock in Toronto team stack, right? I'm going to lock in Toronto team stack and run 20 lineups. What does a Toronto team stack lineup look like? What is a good one? What does a highly SimLabs rated lineup look like that has just Toronto in it as a stack? Let's see what pitchers, what do you have to do? I'm assuming Darvish is in these lineups. I'm assuming you can't even pay for a 10K pitcher. Be something like Pepio Darvish or something. Oh, here, literally the first lineup. Okay, these aren't bad lineups. Pepio Darvish. You get Blue Jays. You get Gorman, Wynn, William Contreras in there. This isn't bad. You get Crochet in this lineup. Kirk, Clement, Bichette, Varsho, Lukes. Play Yoshida at 2,800, which is probably too cheap. Abraham Toro at 2,200, probably too cheap. Yeah, the Red Sox are cheap today also. What's going on with that? Let's go to the Red Sox. All right, because they have almost a 5-point implied team total. And Abraham Toro sitting there in the middle of the lineup at 2,200, and Yoshida's 2,800. I mean, Story's only 3,800. Yeah, the Red Sox are pretty cheap today. Are they going to go under-own? Are more people going to play Milwaukee? I mean, why would I want to play Milwaukee if Boston has a even higher implied team total? I don't know. It's hard to tell at this point. We do have Boston's ownership is pretty high. Right? We take a look at the top stacks tool. We have them as like the third highest owned stack, right? Blue Jays 1, Red Sox 2, Dodgers 3, Brewers 4, and then the Mets. I didn't realize how cheap some of these people. I mean, it's not the whole team. That's why. But like Toro and Yoshida, this is the reason why you can play. I mean, look, you can play the Blue Jays and still be able to play Crochet because of how many cheap sub 3K ish players there are to play as one-offs and doubles and whatever. There's a Wu Darvish lineup with Blue Jays. You got Laureano. You got Jonathan India in here. You got Tovar in here as one-offs. No, the Blue. I mean, you can play a Blue Jays lineup today. I'd be more concerned about ownership, but you can. You can absolutely play a Crochet Blue Jays lineup, but obviously all of these lineups have Yu Darvish in it. 6,100 at pitcher, and just hope for the best, and hopefully you get 15 points or something. It's more of a price thing. If Yu Darvish was 8,500 today, we would not be talking about it. We have his pitch count at 84. And in GPPs, I'm not a humongous fan about playing pitchers that possibly will not pitch enough to even qualify for the win. Just it leaves them with very, very little room for error. It's not about the win points. It's just the room for error. Like if Darvish gives up 3 runs, like he's not going to pitch long enough to get enough strikeouts to make up for 3 earned runs. So he's just going to sit there with 6 fantasy points or whatever. Doesn't mean you can't play him, but play him wisely. And that's what I use SimLabs for. So we're locked in the Toronto stack. So you can also use player filters to lock in players. So let's say we want to exclude Darvish. Let's say we want to play. I don't even have to exclude Darvish if I'm going to lock in my pitchers. Right. So let's say I wanted to play a Crochet Peralta lineup. Right. And I want to exclude Toronto as a team stack. Like what lineups do I get that look like that? Right? So you can make your choices in SimLabs if you want. Be like, I want to play a type of lineup that looks like this today. And I want another lineup to be completely different. You could save your lineups. You could run 150 of multiple lineups types and save the ones that you want throughout the course of the day even. And then you could upload them to DraftKings. You could sync them with Lineup HQ here at RotoGrinders. It's not something that you just, I'm just going to go press a button and just take a lineup. You could put a lot of stuff together, right? Crochet Peralta, here's the Rangers. Rangers aren't really on the board, right? 88, this is a highly rated lineup, and who's playing the Rangers today? Not many. Crochet Peralta. And there's Crochet Peralta with the Cardinals, which for whatever reason, they're cheap and not big. If I wouldn't have played someone cheap, I'm still 3.78 implied team total doesn't spark a lot of confidence in me. I think I'd rather play the Rangers today. And here, let's see. We got another Cardinals lineup, a Mets lineup, Crochet Peralta, and some Mets. I don't mind the Mets today. There's another Rangers lineup. But this is if you're going to pay up twice at pitcher, especially for Crochet and Peralta. I'm assuming Crochet Wu, the lineups are going to be a little bit even more contrarian. Because you can still play a Dodgers. The thing is, you can still play a Dodgers lineup, even with Crochet and Peralta. Just that you're not playing Ohtani in that lineup. Yeah, Jock Peterson's 2,300. I mean, there's just so many people. There's so many players on today's slate that are sub 3K that probably shouldn't be. Probably should at least be 3,500, right? Jock Peterson should be at least 3,500, not 2,300. Right? Alejandro Kirk should be 5K, not 3,700. Right? Abraham Toro should be at least 3,400, not 2,200. Yoshida should be 3,500. I mean, like something like that. But when you get some of these guys that are like 2K for no reason, it's hard not to play when there's a lot of them, especially when it's not just one. Like sometimes you get like one guy or two guys, and then they end up being 22% owned because like they're the only guy that's like obviously shouldn't be 2,200, and everyone notices. There's enough people like that they can mix and match them, and not be in bad shape. But you could exclude players and do all that type of stuff here in SimLabs. You don't even use it on your phone. That's how I use it. All right, I go on my phone. I will be listening later today to crunch time. I'll be out. I'll be listening on my headphones. Listen to Roth tell me about the Atlanta game. Can build lineups on my phone with SimLabs, which is part of the Combo Lite and Combo Pro packages today. Right, you get full access to SimLabs for MLB, NBA, PGA, and NFL, which is coming back, which includes all the showdown slates, by the way, for NFL. And you get access to our research tools like Plate IQ, Court IQ, Gridiron IQ, all of our comprehensive tools, articles, rankings, Jesus $1 Million Musings, which you should read every weekday for MLB. You get all that, and I go on my phone. I make my lineup. I go do exactly the type of things that I'm showing you here at midday, but obviously with updated lineups and everything. Ownership gets updated, tweaked and stuff. 5-10 minutes. I got my one lineup, two lineups, three lineups. Depends on the day. Typically, I play smaller field contests, 1 to 3 lineups. And I say, okay, I'm going to play a crochet lineup. Okay, give me a crochet lineup. Out of the 20, I pick the one that looks the best to me. Out of the top-rated ones, right? And then I go, okay, how about a not crochet lineup? But I exclude crochet. Or I want to play a Boston stack. What does that look like? And who do I have to, show me 20 lineups or whatever. And I'll choose the ones that I want to play. Save. I got 3 lineups. I upload or just manually put it into my phone. And I'm done. That's all it is. Easy peasy. Play plus EV lineups. Of course, MLB variance is through the roof. Doesn't mean you win every day. A very easy way to build competitive lineups, especially on the fly, with SimLabs. So hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here, and hit the notification bell to always know when we go live. And I will see you back on Friday for another MLB SimLabs analysis here on RotoGrinders.com.